Call to order the June the 17th, 2019 Finance Committee meeting. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of June 3rd, 2019.
Reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections or additions to this month's meeting minutes? I'm sorry.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments May 25th, 2019 through June 7, 2019.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, we met this evening, and I would recommend, I appreciate the staff answering the questions, and I would recommend approval of all claims.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the claims list. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of receiving donated funds from Cherokee Nation in the amount of $3,700 for the Muskogee Police Department or take other necessary action.
Chief.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. What this is the it's not on.
Help is coming.
Help's coming. There we go.
You might try singing into it.
No, you don't want that.
It is on.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I got it. What this is, it's a donation from the Cherokee Nation. Just want to personally thank Counselor Mike Dobbins, who's here and would like to speak a word. What this is it's a technology assistance with, we have one of our investigators has been going to extensive federal classes on how to download information from computers and cell phones. And this is a donation from Cherokee Nation that will actually pay for some of our licensing fees for this coming year. So, Mr. Dobbins.
Thank you, members of the committee. I am Mike Dobbins, the counselor, Cherokee counselor that represents Muskogee, Fort Gibson, Warner, and Porham. Of course, we've been dealing with flooding issues on the other side of the river, but thankfully we're getting that kind of under control. But it is it's always nice to collaborate, the Cherokee Nation to collaborate with our cities within our jurisdiction, and this is just a small token of our appreciation because this led to we have a Cherokee health facility here in Muskogee, and it led to a deputization agreement with the city of Muskogee. So when we have an issue there, then the Muskogee police can be there in minutes. So once again, this is just it is a great thing to collaborate with the city of Muskogee, the Cherokee Nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 3 passed. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval to use city matching grant funds for the Civitan Park Improvement Project totaling $18,551 or take other necessary action.
Mr. Wilkerson.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, as you're aware, we opened bids some time back and have awarded the contract to do the Civitan Park improvements. It's underway. If you remember our original estimates for this construction, this was paid for with a grant from the City of Muskogee Foundation and a match from the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Original estimates were $475,214. That's the amount of money that the foundation gave us. They matched half of it. So then we got our bids. We had bid alternates so that we could make sure that we could award something within the amount of money that we had of the $475,000. So there were 3 bid alternates that we were not able to tell the contractor at this time to move forward with until we had the money. So we asked the Land and Water Conservation Fund if they had additional funds that they could provide us if we could provide the match. They said yes, we've been awarded that additional money. So we're asking the city to match through our grant program the $18,551, and the Land and Water Conservation Fund will match an additional $18,551. We need an additional $37,102 to award all three of the ad alternates for the park. The ad alternates specifically were a parking facility up in front of the building, a seat wall that was a part of our splash pad, and another play area that has an artificial grass in between the playground and the splash pad area. So all three of these things we felt were vital to the project, and we were hopeful to find the award, and with your approval tonight, we'll be able to move forward with all of them. Happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval. I think it'll be a great asset for the park.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm curious. I haven't been out there. But how's the project doing out there at Silver Lake
Well,
Park?
we ran into a layer of rock, and so we're having to make adjustments. Luckily, we have a contingency built into the project, and so we still have money to pay the contractor to remove the rock, but that's where we're at. And so it's slowed down because of that amount of work that has to be done, and we had to go through the process to get the approval and agree upon the amount of money that we had to pay to remove the rock. So. But other than that, I think we're pleased with the contractor. Of course, we've been rained on a lot in the last month or so that they've been working out there.
Have we been inspecting the
Yes,
job the contractor's
we have regular
doing?
meetings out there with the designer and the contractor.
Who is?
Pardon?
Who is? You said-
We are staff and in the design PDG design group and the contractors. We meet bi-weekly. I think there's a meeting this Friday.
Okay, I was just, Mr. Wilkins, I was just curious because, like I say, we've been on these projects before, and planning and design group has been out there, and that didn't make a hill of beans because, like I say, we still got some shoddy work on some different things. So that's why I was saying this time, I remember we talked to Mr. Miller about this, about the parks getting work done on them, that we were going to have people, professional people that knew what they were doing, looking at these contractors and seeing what these contractors were doing and getting what we expect for our money.
So, Mr. Van, I feel pretty confident that our parks people are really good at supervising a parks project involving a Civitan splash pad. We put in a bunch of splash pads over the years, and I feel confident that they can monitor that, and they have all the resources available to make sure that the job's getting done right. And if they need additional help, it's available to them. I agree with you. We want to have it done right the first time.
I hope, like you said, Mr. Miller, I hope they're capable. Because, like I say, in my opinion, some things wasn't done correctly, and you know what park I'm talking about, but I'll leave it at that. But like I say, I just want things done right, and I don't care whose park it is. I just want done thing. We paying these people, we need it done right. So I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 4 passed. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval of a professional service agreement for fiscal year July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020 with Michael Gilliard, attorney at law, to provide representation for the City and Workers' Compensation Court or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is the time of year when we bring back all of our contracts for renewal. And so I've got 3 on this agenda, and there'll be some more coming before July 1. This one is for Mike Gilliard. Mr. Gilliard is a Tulsa attorney who has represented us since before I started handling our workers' compensation claims. As some of you may remember, when we added Mike Finnerty to the mix, it was because we believed that Mr. Gilliard at some point fairly in the future will be retiring, and so we wanted to have somebody who would be able to take over the reins. Additionally, it's always good to have 2 attorneys just in case you've got a conflict with a client that or a respondent that they're working with. So we've been pleased with Mr. Gilliard's service, and we'd ask that we retain him for another year. The total expenditures that we paid under the existing contract to date are $19,835.08. And so that has been pretty standard the last few years, and so we do not expect that to change or increase of any significant amount in fiscal year 2020. Happy to answer any questions, but I do recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 5 passed. Item number 6, please.
Consider approval of a professional service agreement for the fiscal year July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020 with Michael Finnerty, attorney at law, to provide representation for the city in workers' compensation court or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, as I just mentioned, we did bring on Mr. Finnerty, who is a local attorney, last year, and that was to provide conflict, to serve to some degree as conflict counsel, but also to begin taking some of these new cases. The positive thing is we haven't really had a significant number of new cases. Most of the cases that Mr. Gilliard performed on were existing claims. And so we're asking that we retain Mr. Finnerty for another year. The total amount that was spent for his services last year was $1,069.60. Happy to answer any questions, but I do recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Yes. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 6 passed. Item number 7, please.
Consider approval of a professional services agreement with Betty Other Williams to provide representation for the City of Muskogee in 4 inverse condemnation lawsuits filed in Muskogee County District Court styled England v. City of Muskogee, case number CV 200720, Lacey v. City of Muskogee, case number CV 20071377, Taft v. City of Muskogee, case number CJ 20071410, Vaughn v. City of Muskogee, case number CJ 20071371, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, again, this is a professional services agreement for Betty Williams. Betty has provided representation in these lawsuits since, I believe, 2008. And has done a good job. These have been very lengthy. This has been a lengthy case for litigation, and so some of you may remember back in April of last year, the council authorized an appeal of the case, and so up till now, we have been waiting for a journal entry. A journal entry, of course, is the memorialization of the court's order and must be filed before the case can actually be appealed. That was presented to us back in January this year, and there was a hearing held on it May 1st, so we do think that will be wrapped up, and we will be ready to take action to move the appeal forward. Because this case has gone on for so long, I did pass out sort of a timeline for you all to look at for just the stuff that has occurred since 2011 after the second appeal. And so one of the things that you'll find on that is that a lot of that time period was just waiting for the court's ruling, waiting for the plaintiff's counsel to present a journal entry. And so the fees that we have spent on Miss Williams for year to date is $2,372.74. And so we do expect that in fiscal year 2020 to be significantly higher because of the appellate brief writing that will occur very likely in next fiscal year. I have talked with a couple of committee members who are interested in having an executive session to discuss kind of where we are on that case, and so I will work with Ms. Williams to have her come and speak to us again. The last time we had a briefing was in January of this year, and so it's a good time to have another one. So I will work with her to schedule that briefing. But meanwhile, this is a renewal of her existing contract. There has not been any changes or increases, and so I put that to you for your approval. I do recommend it, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
No.
Dan Hall.
No.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 7 passed. Item number 8, please.
Consider approval to award a contract to low bidder McClure Energy Solutions, LLC, for tank mixing and aeration improvements, project number 17-601, in the amount of $336,848, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley?
Yes, this is the first of our OWRB water loan projects that's come out. We bid it earlier with only one bidder. This time we got 3 bidders and saved about $20,000 from the previous bid. This will be it's the aeration of the Radio Hill tank and the mixing of the Honor Heights tank. So this will mix the water as it's in the tank and hopefully do away with a lot of the chlorine byproducts that cause us to have issues on the west side of town. And we recommend approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 8 passed. Item number 9, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2771, declaring a parcel of property located at 700 Houston Street as surplus property and authorize the sale to Howard Avery in the amount of $363, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we are requesting approval of a resolution to declare the property located on Houston Street, just east of F Street, as surplus and authorize the sale of the property. The property was posted 10 days as required. We only received one bid. The bid was from the abutting property owner, Howard Avery, in the amount of $363. He plans on expanding his yard. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. Glad to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 9 passed. Item number 10, please.
Consider approval of the Community Development Block Grant 2019 application documents, Citizen Participation Plan, Applicant Resolution, and Leverage Resolution number 2772, committing up to $127,856 as leverage, all relating to the Oklahoma Department of Commerce Small Cities Set-Aside Grant Fund Program, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Callahan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Tammy, for that. And committee members, it is our annual application process, and with that is a requirement to have the public hearing and also to approve the applicant documents. The public hearing will be set for Monday. It's been published, and it would be on the agenda for Monday night for the public hearing for the application. This is the required application documents that are required to be approved and submitted with the application. Be happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 10 passed, and with that item passing, that is the final item for our Finance Committee meeting.
I will now go ahead and call the Public Works Committee meeting for June the 17th, 2019 to order. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of June 3rd, 2019.
Everybody's had time to review the minutes.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Yep. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of Ordinance 4072A, rezoning the property located at 105 North York Street, more particularly described in the ordinance, from R1 Single Family Residential to C1 Local Commercial, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We will now open a public hearing on item number 2. Tish?
Yes, thank you. This is a request from Interstate Properties as the agent for the owners, Mike and Mike LLC. The request is to rezone the property that is behind and attached to 105 North York Street. They're requesting to rezone from the R1 Single Family Residential to the C1 Local Commercial, and that is so that they can expand the parking lot for that building. This is the site. You'll notice in the green shade that that is the area that's being requested to be rezoned. It was originally attached to the building, and also the house was under one ownership, and now it's under two. This is the area behind that building that's proposed for rezoning. It's currently zoned R1 Single Family Residential. And this is the front of the building. If you can recognize, it's a new business that's gone in. To the north and to the northeast are zone C1 Local Commercial. Just directly to the north is the Senor Lopez Restaurant. To the south it is zone C1 Local Commercial, but right now it is a single-family residence. To the east is zone C2 General Commercial. It's the Chicken Express Restaurant, and then to the north of that is C1 Local Commercial, and it's a vacant lot. To the west is zoned R1 Single Family Residential, and it is a single-family home. The C1 Local Commercial District does comply with the future land use map, and staff and Planning Commission both recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions.
We've not received anybody to sign up for this item to speak, so we will now close the public hearing. Now we have time for questions from the committee.
What do they plan on doing with it if we rezone it?
They're going to expand the parking lot. If you'll notice in one of the pictures, it's kind of a not so great temporary parking lot. So now it's going to be expanded into a legal parking lot.
Is there going to be enough room to make it into a parking lot?
Yes. I don't know if you can see. Get that one. That's where they're parking right now. It's really just some gravel and barricades where the survey stake is the property line that they could pave right up to that property line.
Will there be anything to buffer the residents from the parking lot?
There will need to be, because of the commercial zoning to a residential zoning, a 6-foot site-proof fence.
That's what I was
Oh, we
looking
have
at,
it.
because I could see someone pulling in there and pulling their car in there at night and shining lights into the house, bedroom windows and stuff.
I don't know, and they haven't said if they're going all the way behind the building with the parking lot, so it would just be that front area, but it does require that because of the rezoning.
Okay.
Any other questions from the committee? Thank you very much, Tish. Do I have a recommendation?
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of Ordinance 4073A, rezoning the property located along Orchard Parkway that is within the Orchard Park 3 addition, more particularly described in the ordinance, from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Two Family Residential, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We will now open a public hearing on item number 3. Tish, this is your item also.
Thank you, Chair. Committee members, this is a request from Don Younger as the owner and applicant to rezone 3 lots that are along Orchard Parkway in Orchard Park Addition. The request is from the R1 single-family residential to R2 two-family residential, and the reasoning is to sell the property for proposed duplex development. This is the site and the 3 lots you'll see along the Orchard Parkway. The property is currently zoned R1 single-family residential, and it is vacant. To the north is zoned R1 single-family residential, and there are single-family homes. To the south and then to the southwest is zoned R1 single-family residentials, and there are single-family homes. And then kind of to the south and more west is R4 zoning classification and multifamily, and there is a 6-plex that has been constructed within that area. To the east is zoned R1 single-family residential, and there are single-family homes. To the northeast is, again, R1 single-family residential and single-family homes. To the west is zoned residential agriculture directly to the west, and then to farther west is the R4 multifamily residential. There's vacant land, and then there is the R4 zoning classification for future duplex development. The R2 two-family residential zoning classification does meet the comprehensive plan and land use, and staff and planning commission recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions. And
We
the
don't have-
applicant is here, I'm sorry.
Okay. We don't have anybody signed up to speak to this item, so we will now close the public hearing on this item. Questions from council?
Make a motion to approve.
I was going to say, Ms. Callahan, you did say that there's already a similar type complex in the area.
Yes, currently it's a 6-plex, and that's what they had talked about continuing on in the R4 multifamily zoning classification, but they're reducing those to duplexes. So their future proposals are for duplexes and duplexes here.
Okay, so this isn't a new type of facilities or property to that area. It's already something similar.
Right, they've already
Okay.
started with the duplex or the multifamily.
Thank you.
Now, is this one of those things where we send out a letter and tell everybody kind of around that they're changing the zoning ordinance and everything, and that what we're going to put what they're going to put there?
Yes, we do the 300 feet radius. We're required to by our ordinance.
Nobody complained about it?
We did have a resident that came to Planning Commission, and some of what she was worried about or concerned was the property values, and then also a sewer issue that Dan Hurd and Mr. Hurd and Councilman Patrick Kale went out and with her and talked about the property and the future development, and they're going to have the sewer situation looked into, but I don't see her here this evening. So,
What kind of issue was she worried about?
It had nothing to do with any of this project. She thought that ever since the 6-plex went in, which is a nice little unit, I might add, that she was smelling sewer in the air in the summer. Well, we went over and talked to the owner and the folks over at the 6-plex, and they go, yeah, there's this sewer smell that comes from over there that, we smell it. So long story short, I think Dan was going to see what they need to do about smoking the sewers in those areas, because there's an open manhole or there's something going on in that area. But I looked at all the clean outs of the 6-plex, and everything looked in good order. And I think this is a project befitting the neighborhood.
Any other questions from committee? I have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Younger, because he's been very instrumental in our city. He used to be over the PublicWorks Department, and he's done a lot of things here to make our city better. So like I said, I just want to commend you, Mr. Younger. So I already made the motion.
Yes.
I just need a
I have
second.
a motion.
You need a second?
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions for staff? Comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4.
Consider the appointment of John Newby to serve on the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority Tourism Board, subject to a term not to exceed 4 years, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Chairman, before we begin this item, I do want to point out that it should be the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority who makes appointments to the Tourism Board, not the City Council. So this was inadvertently put on this agenda and should be reserved for Muskogee Redevelopment.
We do plan on having a special call MRA next Monday, and we'll place that item on this item on that agenda.
So we will pull this item from the agenda this evening. So item number 5.
Consider the appointment of Stephanie Folsom to serve on the Muskogee Industrial Trust, filling the expired term of John Barton, beginning July 1, 2019, and ending June 30, 2025, or take other necessary action.
This is my appointment for Muskogee Industrial Trust. Muskogee Industrial Trust, most of you know, plays a very important part in our community, is doing some of the very important financing in our community. I don't know Stephanie Folsom myself, but I do know that John Barton made the recommendation, and I would make that same recommendation this evening.
I know Stephanie, and she's would be a great asset to that committee, and so I move for approval and second that motion.
Got a motion and a second.
How many people's on this committee?
There's 3 banks that are represented on this, and it's mainly for financing of those trusts.
Just 3 banks?
Yes.
The president of the banks?
Yes. Now, Stephanie would be the vice president of bank. So it typically is comprised, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not as familiar with this trust authority, but it's going to consist of presidents or vice presidents of those banks that are looking at this trust.
I was just curious because like I say, I still want people of color on these boards, but I guess we don't have no bankers of color here in Muskogee, Oklahoma. We have to go to the National League of Cities to get that. So I guess that ends that out, so I don't have no debate on that. So I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second on this item. Any other questions, clarifications? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs? Patrick Cale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Item number 5 passes. Item number 6.
Consider approval of an amended affirmative action plan of the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma for fiscal year 2019-2020, Council Policy 3-1-1, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Plunkett.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is a revised affirmative action plan for the upcoming fiscal year. It has some number changes in it for this last fiscal year for employment numbers, changes a couple of things in the policy, and also adds a 10-day time frame to have a response filed to the city manager if anybody wants to make an affirmative action complaint. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
What was the previous number of days for them to issue a complaint?
It wasn't listed, and so when we were revising that, when we had a complaint a couple weeks ago, Mr. Tucker, I believe, realized that, so we added that in there.
Okay. So that's always been, it just wasn't printed for them to be able to see.
It was not in print, so it was kind of left unknown.
Is 10 days a normal day for a complaint?
It's typical, yes, sir, from based on grievances and other complaint procedures that we have. Either 10 or 5 days are the typical.
Okay. I was just wondering if other cities gave more time or if we were just cutting it to the minimum or whatever.
I'm not sure what other cities are, but 10 is typical, as well as 5, depending on which board or type of complaint you're filing.
Okay.
Is that work days or calendar days?
Both. Some of them are calendar days and some of them are business days. The 10 days in this, it refers to calendar days. And it specifies one or the other.
So,
may I clarify?
Yeah.
All right. So there are a couple of levels of appeals in the affirmative action policy. And so first, someone, if they feel like they were not hired or promoted based upon an affirmative action criteria, age, sex, race, things like that, then they have the option to, within 10 days, file an appeal to the city manager through the EEO officer, which is HR. The manager or the HR director has 10 days then to file a response to that person. And those deadlines were already established in the policy.
Yes.
And then from that point, there is an additional appeal to a body of employees, which is appointed by you all through the adoption of this policy. And then they hold a hearing and then make a determination whether to uphold what the city manager had determined or not. And that is the time frame that was not established. So we've got 10 days to file, 10 days to respond, and then now we're asking to incorporate an additional 10 days to get to the second level of appeal. Does that help clarify things a little bit?
I would feel a lot better if the 10 days were like 2 weeks instead of calendar days. That way, if life happens, they can still file one if they need one, instead of it being 10 calendar days where they may be on vacation and weekends and everything involved in that. That could be your 10 days. That's my misunderstanding that I'm having problems with right now, because if it's 10 work days or business days, then that person has the ability to be there over a 2-week period, basically. But if there's holidays and vacation time or something like that, and they're gone when they file it, they can't file it if they're not here, correct? It's got to be in writing?
Yeah, and it has to be filed with the city clerk, yes.
So that's what I'm saying. I think calendar days kind of stink. I'd rather it to be 10 working days.
I think that's fine. I think that's a change we could easily make.
And that would be
for the
a little bit different for the others. I think the other time frame is 10 calendar days. So it would just be a little bit different for that part. I'm trying to find it.
It's on paragraph 15. The initial complaint is within 10
days.
Calendar days.
Mm-hmm.
The city manager then has 10 working days to
Correct.
respond. And then if the change is incorporated, the employee or potential employee would have 10 working days.
If that's what Mr. Hall says.
10
yes.
working
Yes, sir.
days to then file his appeal to the impartial EEO board.
Correct.
And I agree with Council Hall. For many people that would be in a situation to make that kind of filing, I mean, life does happen. Depending on the severity of what they think is going on, I mean, they just may be stressed out to the point to not even be at work. So I think the 10 calendar days is better. Work days, I'm sorry. 10 work days is
10
better.
business days.
Yes.
The other thing I would point out is that the appeal is just that. It is a request for an appeal, 2-3 lines. There's no requirement that there be any list of witnesses or rationale for why you're seeking an appeal, which is different than we have for our merit procedure for employees. So it's a simpler process as well.
And this is not only for employees, but it's also for potential employees.
Right.
So they could be working or they could not be working.
So would I have a recommendation to move forward with this item with with it reflecting 10 calendar days, so to provide consistency through this document?
10 working days.
10 working days. Thank you.
And council member, you're asking for all 10 days to be all 10 business days for each section, not just this inserted section.
I would agree
Is that
with
what I
that.
understand?
Yes, and then
Okay.
that way we would have consistency through the document. That's
Okay.
It is a challenge when we review these to determine if we're talking calendar or working, so
Right.
consistency would help
I would
staff
move
as well.
for approval on that one.
Second.
with that modification.
I love that.
The modification of it, everything being at 10 working days.
10 calendar days.
10
Yeah, working days.
Working days.
Working days. Weekends
This
don't
is
count.
tough.
Weekends don't
That's
count
okay.
holidays.
Days.
10
This
business
may be
days.
one of them times when we need Roy to make the. So I have a motion and I have a second to reflect the same thing with that modification.
Yes.
Any clarifications needed from any of the counselors?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Definitely.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Plunkett. Item number 6 passes. Item number 7.
Consider approval of resolution number 2769, declaring a truck bed exclusive of the tailgate of a Dodge Ram 3500 dually truck to be surplus to the needs of the city of Muskogee, and authorize the city manager to dispose of the same or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. This is a one-ton truck we had bought for the water plant, and the plan all along was to have a flatbed put on it, but the purchase, the best deal included the regular bed on it, so we've removed that bed and we're going to declare it surplus. We are keeping the tailgate because we have a use for it on another truck, and so we're surplusing the bed that we no longer need, and recommend approval.
Any questions from the committee?
How do we surplus this? Will it just go out for bid, or what will it happen?
Yeah, we'll probably put it on one of the, since our auction was last weekend, we'll put it on one of the auction sites.
So you're saying we bought a brand new truck, we're taking the bed off of it and selling it?
Yes, and putting a flatbed on it.
And it was cheaper with the bed on it than it would have been without?
Right.
Someone's going to get a good deal, I'm sure. Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Now we have the, that concludes our committee meeting except for public to be heard. So I have 2 signed up to speak this evening. First would be Skylar Carter. You have 3 minutes to address the committee. If you would, give us your name, address.
Thank you.
We could start the time after she completes handing out the information.
Oh, it's way up there now. Oh, I like that better.
Oh, it is.
I was wondering about if they were going to have one of these.
Don't want to give me one.
Skylar Carter, 909 Horn Street. I'm here on behalf of the Oklahoma Juneteenth Historical Foundation, and what I just handed you is our patron letter. We've been able to host the Juneteenth celebration at Elliott's Park for the last 12 years with the help of and support of the community, and all of the events that take place at this celebration are free to the public, and so we graciously ask if you are able to support the event. It will be Wednesday, June 19th, noon to 5 p.m. And if you're unfamiliar with what Juneteenth is, it is commonly known as the second Independence Day here in America. So it notes the Emancipation Proclamation and when the slaves were freed. And so we celebrate that here in Muskogee to pay homage to our ancestors and just be unified as a community. So you have the letter there, and if you have any questions about that, you can contact me or Ms. Wilma Newton, who is here with us today. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday, again, noon to 5 at Elliott's Park. We'll be having a unity walk starting from MAPS right there on the corner of Martin Luther King and Altamont. And we're going to walk up to Elliott's Park, and you'll be able to learn and hear about the significant sites that are on that path. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Oh, and I will pass out, I'll just have you guys pass it around, but this is the flyer for the event.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening will be Wilma Newton. You'll have also 3 minutes if you would give us your name and address this evening.
Yes, my name is Wilma Newton. Address is 411 North 14th Street, Muskogee. would just like to come and invite the council to come, and also to remind you all, for the last 4 years, you all have been so gracious as to supply the Juneteenth celebration with the tent. And so we're coming before you again to ask if you would be so kind as to help us to purchase the rental for the tent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newton. That concludes our public to be heard this evening, and that will also conclude our purchasing committee this evening, our finance committee. Sorry.
Okay, and with that, we will call to order the June 17th, 2019 City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Here. Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Thank you. Item 1, please.
Receive report relating to the local emergency declared by Resolution Number 2767 relating to the flooding of the Arkansas River, and if necessary, take appropriate action, including consideration of approval of a third amendment to said resolution, continuing the emergency and all powers necessary and incidental thereto.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mayor and members of council, you guys are well aware of the disaster that's been in our area for now getting close to a month since the rain started falling up in Kansas, and so what we have, I'll give you just a brief update of where we're at now, and then what we'd like to do moving forward. We still have our emergency managers working closely with the citizens who've had homes affected within the city limits. He's assisting the county in their efforts beyond the city limits, as we have a good cooperative agreement with them, an arrangement with them. There is a community meeting next or tomorrow night in Fort Gibson that we're inviting our residents to attend at the Fort Gibson High School between 7 and 9 to try, if they're eligible for individual assistance. We're encouraging them to go there. That's where FEMA is going to be trying to help assist there as well. We do have ongoing issues with our pollution control plant, our water plant, and our War Memorial Park. And so we do request that we extend the state of emergency for 3 weeks till our first regularly scheduled meeting in July. It's July 8th, to allow us to make emergency purchases as necessary, especially as it relates to our pollution control plant, as we try and get that back online. So I would be happy to answer any questions, and I would ask that we extend that state of emergency till midnight, or 11:59 p.m. on July 8th.
I move for approval.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
So just to restate, that would be approval to execute a third amendment to the resolution.
Right, to extend it.
Yes.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes, and the motion carries. And with that, we are adjourned.